Hi everyone, and welcome to Cascadeur. In this video, we'll talk about the sacred timeline. We'll go over all the main buttons and the interface itself. I'll also give you the hotkeys, so you'll be able to work with the timeline faster. Let's go! First things first, the timeline is located at the bottom of the screen and contains all the animations frames. The dark blue frames are the keyframes, which contain the poses created by the animator. In Cascadeur, the keyframes contain all the information about the object, including the object's position, rotation, and other properties. The frames between the key ones are interpolation frames. In these frames, the object is positioned automatically depending on the interpolation type. You can move between different frames by moving the red slider, or by clicking at the frame, or by using A or D on your keyboard. If you want to move between the keyframes only, then use the hotkey combination Shift plus A or Shift plus D. Now, if you select Invert Frame Indicator Hotkeys button, then you'll be moving between the keyframes using A or D, and you'll be moving between the interpolation frames by using Shift plus A and Shift plus D. This is useful for animation blocking, for instance, when you do need to move between the hotkeys a lot. You can play the animation by using the player buttons on the right. Alternatively, you could press X or space on your keyboard. Your animation will be playing non-stop if the loop mode in play button is selected. When not selected, the animation will stop playing at the last frame. By pressing Z on your keyboard, you can quickly come back to the first frame of the animation. By selecting Key Mode in Play button, you'll be playing only the keyframes of the animation. The first and the last frame of the animation are shown in these windows at the bottom. By changing the number in the right-hand side window, you'll be able to increase the number of frames in the animation. This slide is to identify the frames you're working with. You can either manually input the frames numbers, or you can just slide it in the direction that you need it to go. Using the hotkeys Ctrl+ or Ctrl-, you can increase or decrease the number of frames you're working with. Another option you have is to left-click on the first frame and drag it to select as many frames as you need. To finish selection, please press F6 on your keyboard. The blue buttons at the bottom allow you to quickly limit the frames you're working with by the first and the last keyframe. If you right-click on this slider at the bottom, you'll be able to immediately see all the frames in the animation. To get back to selected keyframes, right-click again. In this window, you can see the current frame's time, where the starting point is the first frame of the animation. By clicking the cog icon, you can find additional settings for the timeline. For example, you can remove the timecode window altogether, or change it to the window with the current frame. You can also choose between either the frame's number or its timecode. Additionally, you can customize your frame rate and FPS. But here, let me draw your attention to the time factor setting. Time factor allows you to slow down the animation's play speed without changing any other settings. It also does not affect the keyframes on the timeline. This is a great option for when you have a complex animation and you would like to make sure that every single detail is perfect. Sometimes your timeline will consist of different tracks. You can have different tracks for various reasons. It can be for different objects, different characters, or different body parts of one character. Different tracks can have different keys and different types of interpolation. If you select the lock icon next to each track, you'll protect it from accidental editing. Simply remove the lock to continue editing. Here is a list of all the hotkeys we've used so far. This is also the perfect time to like this video if you're enjoying the content. Thank you! In this next part of the video, I'm going to show you how to create, delete, and edit the frames. To create the keyframes, you can either press the blue key button or press F on your keyboard. The exact same actions will delete the keyframe. To move the keyframes within the timeline, use the scroll button on your mouse. You can copy the keyframes if you do the same thing while also pressing Shift. Another option for moving the keyframes would be pressing Shift and Control and using A or D on your keyboard. You can add frames in between the keyframes by pressing plus, or delete them by pressing minus. You can select an interval by left-clicking on your mouse and dragging. Press Ctrl and either the right or the left arrow on your keyboard to add frames to the selected interval. If you click on the track's name, you'll be selecting all the frames. And if you right-click on a frame, you'll be selecting this frame on all the tracks. When dealing with keyframe groups, you can drag them or copy them in the exact same way as you would with individual keyframes. If you want all the frames on the selected interval to be keyframes, press Alt plus F. The same combination will delete all the selected keyframes. By the way, using Alt plus other hotkeys almost always means that you would like to apply the same changes to the entire interval selected. Every keyframe keeps the object's position selected by the animator. If the frame does not have a key, then the position will be nullified. If you select Set Key on Change button, then the key will be automatically created in the current frame when any change is introduced. This key will have a different color. A different color of the key means that this key only exists on one of the tracks. When keys differ on different tracks, they will be colored pink. The object's position is calculated automatically in between the keyframes, depending on the type of interpolation selected. This is the button for all types of interpolation. The selected type of interpolation will be applied to all the frames in between the key ones. If you select the keyframe, then the type of interpolation will be applied to all the frames after this keyframe. You're also able to apply the same type of interpolation to different frames. To use hotkeys here, please add Alt to the type of interpolation that you're applying. For example, if I want to apply Bezier interpolation on this interval, I'll be pressing B on my keyboard as its Bezier interpolation hotkey. To apply it on the entire interval, I'll be pressing Alt plus B. The same logic applies when using Change Interpolation on Interval button. Using Alt, you can change between selecting a certain type of interpolation on the entire interval or only on the selected one. You can learn more about different types of interpolation from a different video. I would also like to draw your attention to this Auto Interpolation button. However, for the time being, let me tell you a little bit more about the fixed interpolation type. This type of interpolation fixes the position of an object in every frame. This looks like every single frame is a keyframe, and basically this helps us to bake an animation. The difference between actual baking and this method is that all the keyframes are saved in this one, and you can easily edit the interpolation. This option to fix interpolation or bake it is embedded in your timeline, and there is a number of actions that will activate it, such as adding autophysics or retiming the animation. You can retime the animation by using the stretching mode button or by using the hotkeys Ctrl plus T. Once the retiming is activated, simply drag the frames. As you can see, the interpolation is fixed now. If I disable fixed interpolation in the interval, this will not happen. You can stretch, shrink, and retime the frames. You can also activate the option when fixed interpolation is going to be automatically applied when you're changing a scene without adding a new key. Interval changing mode allows you to change the objects on all the selected frames. When interval edit mode is activated, you will see the viewport in a red frame. There will be a separate video specifically about this tool and when to use it. And here are the hotkeys we've used so far for all the frames-related editing. Now, once you've screenshotted all the hotkeys we've used, let me tell you a little bit more about all the visual timeline labels that you might encounter. As you know, the keyframes are dark blue. The rest of the frames are colored depending on the interpolation type. When different tracks have different keys or different types of interpolation, they will be highlighted in pink. You can label any key on the timeline for your convenience. And we have different label colors. The small letters FK and GR refer to the type of kinematics. You can select different types of kinematics for the keyframes or for the interpolation frames. That's why there are two different buttons on the timeline. FK or forward kinematics. FK type of kinematics on interpolation frames changes the nature of movement on the selected track. For example, the IK type of kinematics, the arm will be moving starting from the palm, and in the FK type, the arm will be moving starting from the shoulder. Global rotation kinematics work similarly to FK with slight differences. For instance, it allows to lessen the influence of parents on a trajectory. For the keys, forward kinematics works the following way. Let's use this animation where a character is moving to the side. And in between the first and the last frames, we're going to create a different one with the arm up. So now, if we change the final keyframe for the character, it will also change its global position in the middle, but the arm will still be trying to keep its global coordinates, since the track with an arm has a key in it. Alternatively, we can create the FK option on the track with an arm. Then the arm will not change its position when we're changing the final frame, since the arm is adjusting its position according to the character's body. This button defines which kind of kinematics will be applied and on which intervals, the current ones onto all of them. The same button exists for the interpolation frames. Sometimes you'll encounter this black dot on the timeline. You can add or remove this label by using hotkeys Alt+R. Let's see what it does. All the rigs in Cascadeur are designed to keep the same distance between different points. But sometimes there are cases when you do need to change this distance. For instance, for artistic vision, you can do this when the points are locked. However, on the interpolation frames, these points will be glued back together again. To avoid this, you can use the hotkey Alt+R. Whenever the timeline is limited by these white markings, it means that there is a fixed trajectory on the stretch. Use Set Trajectory Interval button to remove or adjust it. You can also use the hotkey /. A pink frame appears when you select a cycle for certain frames in the timeline. By a cycle, we mean that the first frame in the animation is also going to be the final one. If you place the mouse pointer at the end of the final frame and drag, you'll be able to change the cycle's area. In order to do this, make sure that you have cycle resizing selected. The orange dotted line on the timeline points to an offset cycle, and the pink dotted line means an offset cycle with a rotation. Finally, on the timeline, different physics tools will be reflected as well. A thinner line of different colors on top of the timeline points to different frames with or without fulcrum points. The red line means that this particular frame will be a priority for the physics tools. In these frames, the physics ghost will try to keep the animation as close as possible to the original. Here is a quick recap of everything we've covered today. If you have any questions related to this video, please leave your questions in the comments here or in our Discord channel. If you think this video is useful for you, please like it and subscribe to our channel to be on top of all the news and updates.